Yo, just want to do a quick little garden tour. January 18th, 2019. I got black plastic just laying down to keep down the weeds so I don't have to do a bunch of garden work before I make this area into raised beds. This little patch, sunflowers, radishes, some marigolds, but animals dug up this side of it and a little bit over here, so I'm gonna have to patch that up. Got a pot of marigolds right there doing all right. All right, let's see. So these pine logs were the first bed I put down, and down here I got a dwarf Barbados cherry and some Katuk and longevity spinach cuttings down there, and over to the behind them is some fig cuttings. While I was at work, some guy had cut down his fig tree and left it by the road, so I grabbed it, made a million cuttings. They're all over there. So we'll go this way first. A beautiful, beautiful pathway here, as you can see. Let's see. This was a little experiment I did. I used to use this tub as a worm bin, but I replaced it because it was starting to fall apart. So what I did was I bought about $8 worth of marigold seeds, and I planted them in there real thick. And I've just been pulling the clumps out and planting them in places. I want to see how they do. And they're doing about as, the ones that I transplanted are doing about as good as the ones in here. So I guess it's a decent method. And then I planted some pigeon peas in here and Mexican sunflower cuttings. And let's see. That's just a pile of brush that I cleared away. This bed around the outside is nasturtiums and radishes, and then along this side is mustard greens, and there's some watermelons here and there throughout the bed, and then along this side right here it's all bok choy, and there's some calendula and a couple patches of carrots in there. I planted it way too close, as you're probably thinking. I just want to see how it does. And this bed, I had grown sweet potatoes in, but they've been harvested. So now I got a little tray with some red amaranth. Oh, it looks like an animal dug in there a little bit. I want to see if the amaranth will survive as seedlings in that tray over winter. I haven't had a lot of luck with amaranth. And over there where all those squash sprouts are was just a pile of worm bin compost, and they all sprouted. I didn't even know they were there. I threw some marigolds on there too. And actually these purple flowers came from my bag of marigold seeds. Don't know what they are. The leaves look a little bit like thin marigolds, but I don't know what they are. And let's see, let's see, in the front there's a little cassava cutting, a couple papayas. I'm going to transplant one of those. They have not done anything all year. They're just standing there. Maybe grew 3 inches all year. That's a pigeon pea I keep cutting back. You know, good for chop and drop mulch. And I left some of the sweet potato vines in there. There's dead basil laying on top of them right now. But they might come back and maybe I'll harvest again. And I think that little tree there between the two dead basil plants is loquat. Here's a red tower ginger. I'm still learning about how useful that plant is. And as you can see, there's a half circle of my rabbit's poop mixed with pine shavings. There's kind of a mulch. Let's see, over here, got a couple dead basils, another pigeon pea standing up there, and that's a Suriname cherry in the pot, and more of those weird flowers that were supposed to be marigolds. And over here, I'm doing an experiment. I'm gonna, on the left 3, I'm gonna use a mixture of fish fertilizer and some other liquid nutrients. In the middle, I'm going to use human urine and Epsom salt. And then on the right, as kind of a control to keep it semi-scientific, just water. So I'll be making separate videos to keep track of that. I'll go out here and look at these over here. We got a little avocado tree that had a mold problem, but I treated it, so it looks like it's doing good. It hasn't grown much because it's the winter right now. Suriname cherry in the pot. That's a rosemary, recently transplanted. It's doing just fine. Over here is a ice cream banana and a rogue squash plant sprouted underneath it, so I'm just letting it grow. That's actually my strongest looking squash plant. I think it's acorn. And there's a few nasturtiums and pigeon peas down amongst the weeds there. Over here we just got papaya, a tiny chaya down there, and that's the only Suriname cherry I planted so far, so I think it's going to become a big bush. We'll see. Looks like another animal's been digging down here too. Alright, let's see. This was a pile of dirt I was growing stuff on, but it got totally overtaken by the weeds during the wet season. Let's see, there's like a little sweet potato vines there, and a very neglected, what's that called? Prickly pear or nopale cactus. And over here, same story. Neglected beds that got totally overgrown while I was too busy. This stick here is actually called Wallacea. Looks like it has died. All the leaves are gone. There's just a couple seed pods, which probably have hundreds of seeds in them. It's an edible green. I think it's also known as Egyptian spinach. You'd be able to see a couple turmeric leaves got overgrown with those weeds. Most of it looks like pusley. And I planted sugarcane here. It died within 1 week because of the nematodes, I think. Alright. And this is my ever-bearing mulberry. It's mostly dormant now. Looks like it's about to come back. I made a bunch of cuttings of that recently. My first time. We'll see how that goes. This is the newest bed, but it recently got dug up by animals, as you can see, because I buried a bunch of banana peels in there, and they dug it all up to eat them, probably raccoons. So today I'm going to be refilling it back up, and I'm going to plant some purple bok choy, regular bok choy, carrots, radishes. I think maybe along that cement wall there, I will put 1,000,000 chai cuttings, so it'll be kind of like a hedge. And maybe some marigolds in here too. Let's see, there's an aloe plant in there, and I think that's oregano. And these pigeon peas that are sticking up were actually at ground level. I'm curious to see how they'll survive now that I've raised them up about 6 inches or 8 inches. There's two of my biggest fig cuttings. I don't know if they're gonna take or not. We'll see. That's cranberry hibiscus, by the way. Grows real well, real easy, right in the sand. Chai bush and papaya and some more chai. This is my most successful marigold plant. I've been slowly, it just survived amongst the weeds. I forgot about it. I've been grabbing the dead seed pods, pulling the seeds out and planting them here and there. That's an example of one of them. That's a second generation marigold for this yard. Over here is a Namwa banana I got from Echo. It was about as small as this youngest pup when I first planted it. Maybe a little smaller than that. And it was this one. So now I have two more they're coming up next to it. Let's see. Over on this side, I got papaya and Suriname cherry. That bed there doesn't grow too much for some reason. Things seem to sprout, but then they don't go anywhere. We'll see how it goes. And let's see. That's a little Mexican sunflower shrub and a moringa tree. I probably will harvest that today before the cold kills it. Some more moringas over here. My real tall cassava. I'll probably harvest that at the end of next year. This is, let me get a better angle to this one. I call this the central bed. I grew sweet potatoes in it last year and harvested them all, but I buried all the vines. So now they're coming up here and there. I just keep cutting them back. And in there is carrots and radishes. And I'm gonna try and do Swiss chard, but I haven't had much luck with it. Okay, so in the corner closest to the center bottom of the screen is longevity spinach and some nasturtium flowers around that. And then we got purslane, some kind of purslane in a pot here. And that is supposedly it's a perennial lavender. We'll see how that goes. That's my strongest cranberry hibiscus. This is very thick down there. I've cut it back a million times. And this is naranjila. If I remember correctly, it has fruit that's kind of like in between an orange and tomato. It's a cool looking plant too. And that's my biggest papaya tree. Didn't get any fruit this year. Although this morning I noticed this little guy, so that may be a fruit, but I don't know if it'll make it through the winter. Probably not. Alright, let's go this way. And so we got papayas and chaya and katuk. There's also an avocado that sprouted from seed there. And those are those fig cuttings. Here's one of the mulberry cuttings. It's got this green growth on it. I don't know if that's just because of the time of year. There's the same thing's happening on the tree over there, so I don't know. It's only been in there a few days, so I doubt it's rooted very well. Let's see. In a little pocket there between the pine logs, I planted rosemary. Seems like it'd be a good space for it, especially once I harvest the cassava and it gets more sun. Okay, over here we got tons of the larger fig cuttings, a few of which actually have leaves. I didn't use any rooting hormone on these. I just cut them and shoved them in this dirt, which I'll show you where I get this grow, this planting mix, as the landscape supply guy told me he called it. Now let's see. These two big cuttings looks like they're just gonna die. So I just planted a bunch of other random stuff in those pots. Like on the left there's some pigeon peas. And this one. What is this? I don't know what that is. That might be like collards, actually. And then chaya. This one's got a bunch of nasturtium and another chaya there. That's some kind of landscaping aloe. This is a loquat tree. Real skinny right here. I didn't plant it in a good spot, so I think I'm going to have to dig it up and move it. It's right in the middle of the path. With my big katuk bush. I've been trying to make cuttings off of that. And I've been fairly successful. About a 50% success rate. Alright, over here, let's see, here's one of the katuk cuttings, and there's some nasturtiums that are growing down there on it from underneath the pot. That is a money tree cutting I made. We'll see if it survives the winter. The two longevity spinach cuttings, some Mexican sunflower. There's some tomatoes in that bed. I'm sure you can see. I never do very good with them. Those are two cassava plants. There's a twiggy blueberry. I don't know if it's the season, but if they do this every season, but my blueberries all just seem to immediately die wherever I put them. It's about the fourth blueberry plant I've ever had. Always just dies. Here's a big patch of nasturtiums I threw in there. And amongst them, there are about 3 Jarrahdale blue pumpkins. I just figured I'd give it a go. Who knows how well they'll do. Oh, it looks like a pigeon pea fell down and sprouted down there. And we got marigold seedlings in a lot of these holes. This katuk got, it was here. This katuk was there, but an animal like knocked it down, but the branch stayed alive, and then it was covered in this rabbit bin dump, and it's still alive, and now there's growth down here, so it looks like I'll be able to make cuttings from that. What else we got? This is another, the first cement bed I believe I made, and you know, proof of concept that the chaya can actually get real big even if it's in that cement block. The longevity spinach, same thing. This in the concrete block actually did a lot better than the longevity spinach that was not in the concrete block, so that's cool. And here's katuk in a block. And actually a basil, holy basil, in the same block with it. Alright, let's see what else we got. I think that's, there's a very sparse looking thyme bush. And, let's see, this guy and that guy are chayote squash. It's pretty shady here and it's still the cool season, so they're not doing that well. They're doing alright. Let's see, you got some, this is kind of a neglected bed. Sparse looking mint. And I just planted this mint, so we'll see how that does. And I planted 2 species of strawberries here. I'm not sure which one is the winner. Maybe this Ozark Beauty, or the other one was, oh, they're both Ozark Beauty. Okay, that solves that riddle. Anyway, it was just 2 little $3 plants, and they've been growing like this all year. The ants always get the strawberries before I do, but maybe I'll get lucky. And it actually jumped from pot to pot there. It's kind of cool. I laid this Areca palm trunk against there to see if the chayote will climb up it and overtake this roof. We'll see how that goes. That's my big Mexican sunflower over there. That's where I get all my cuttings for now. Alright, I guess I have one more plant to show. This is my favorite chayote. I took real good care of it, put it in good soil with some fertilizer in there. So, it's fairly long. Hoping it'll grow up this old rake handle and make it all the way up into this pine tree. And then I can have a ton of chayote squash. Little castor bean plant there. That grows into a big tree. I think it'll look cooler than pine trees. And I might use it as a chop and drop. Alright, I guess that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions.